Welcome back. All right, so are y'all ready to find out how much you're going to need to buy a house? Because it is definitely going to help with your planning and preparation. If you're going to remember anything I say today, it's this. This is the difference between being able to purchase the property based on your timeline. So it will also tell us if you come in for counseling and you tell me, hey, I want to have a plan to buy this home in 3 months, then we want to make sure that you have your upfront costs ready to go. Earnest money. I'm a word girl, and it's not like I read the dictionary or anything, but I love reading. And earnest money, if you just take the definition of that word, it's a sincere commitment, right? Earnest. In earnest, I do this. In earnest, I say that. So earnest money is your sincere commitment, your serious commitment to tell the seller that you want to buy the house. So you're saying, I am committed to 1% of the purchase price to buy your house. You can get this money back. We'll talk about that. If the transaction falls through, you do have an option period. That option period costs you something. It costs an average of $200 to $350 on average. And that option fee, you're buying an option period. So within that timeline, maybe it's 7 days, 10 days, you have to go in with your inspector to find any repairs or make sure that the property is in fair condition, excellent condition. So you're buying yourself time to go in there and inspect the property, right? Because if I tell you, hey, just buy my house, and you tell me, I'll buy it as is, how do you guarantee that you're not buying a home that I have completely disrepaired and have never maintained, right? So you want to buy a home if you're buying a home that's pre-existing, buying a home that is well maintained is important. And if you're buying a fixer-upper, then just understand the repairs associated that you're going to be working on. The option fee is, again, to buy yourself some time. The earnest money tells the seller how serious you are, and that's what goes under contract. I had somebody one time ask me, well, why can't I just check the house before I decide to buy it? Well, imagine if I'm selling my house and all of you tell me, hey, Miss Cynthia, I want to buy your house. And then I have to host now 19 visits, and I don't have a single buyer at the end of those visits, right? So it's about time and investment. All of this today, you are investing your time, right? So it's very important to understand that you cannot just walk into somebody's home and ask to see it before you make a purchase, because guess what? They already have other people that are making offers, and those people have realtors that are working through purchase contracts, and they're working through accepting an offer, right? So on top of, the inspection, you have a wood destroying insect inspection, a mold inspection, a credit report fee, an appraisal. So even though the bank is responsible for your appraisal, you still have to pay them for that because they're originating a loan for you based on this appraisal, right? And then there's also going to be brokerage fees paid to real estate professionals, whether they work with a realty company or they work on their own. There's still commissions that need to be paid. So understanding that both you and the seller are responsible for making those payments to the fee, paying those fees to the realtor is really important. Your realtor can also negotiate those fees. In the state of Texas, the seller and buyer are responsible for those fees, and the realtors are the ones that negotiate how much each party pays. So let's just say the real estate is charging 5% of the purchase price. Well, you can negotiate either the seller paying 4% and you paying 1%, 2 and 3, and 2. So they are going to negotiate those fees for you. All right, so that's the upfront cost. This is what you should already have saved, because this is the first commitment financially that you're going to make to buy your house. And the reason the steps are in that order is so that you can avoid losing your option fee money, right? Because even though it's $200, imagine doing an option fee period for 3 houses. That's already $600, right? And then are you going to do an inspection on all of them? Because that's 400 times 3. So all of those costs start racking up. And so we recommend the steps in that order because, again, it's a progressive process. If you haven't already typed your name in the chat, please take a moment to do that. As I mentioned at the start of our class, we do take attendance periodically. Let's see. Next, down payment. So this is where the grants and down payment assistance programs come in. So this is not always going to come out of your pocket. It's in green, right? So blue comes out of your pocket. Green is where you can start to navigate different loan down payment assistance based on your credit scores. It's always going to be based on your credit scores, how much you earn, what your household income is. So, you know, I have had clients that tell me, oh, well, just because I pay my bills on time and have great credit score, I don't qualify for this program. Right. You may not qualify for this program, but maybe you qualify for 100% financing because you have been paying your bills on time and you have excellent credit score. So just keep in mind that this is like the Cinderella story, and we're going to find the shoe that fits you. So it's not, you're not losing out on different sources of funding. You're actually unlocking new ones, regardless of where your credit score is, where your savings are, or where your income is established currently. All right. Closing costs. So in orange, that comes from purchase price, 2 to 6% of the purchase price. Lender, you're going to have to pay the lender to originate your fees. Mortgage insurance, property taxes, title company fees. This is where your insurance comes in, and you're going to have to pay for a year of coverage because you're telling the bank this asset is secured and protected for the next year, and then you're responsible for renewing it every year. Then you have your real estate professional commission as well. So keep in mind that these are the 3 little bags of money, 3 little envelopes that you will have to have handy, right? And maybe the second envelope, like I said, is grants, down payment assistance. We just have to figure out what your personalized homebuyer assessment looks like. So take a moment to screenshot this because, like I said, this is something you have to remember throughout the process of this journey. Okay, take a minute, and then do you guys have thumbs up? Can you do thumbs up or hands up? Hands up. Yep. Okay, took your screenshot. Awesome. Miss Stephanie, did you have a question?
Yes.
Okay.
What is the difference between the upfront cost for the real estate professional fees and the real estate professional commission fees at closing?
Well, that's something that varies realtor to realtor, but it's definitely all tied into one. It's all gonna come out of the upfront ones may be to just get yourself a realtor. Maybe they have a fee for you to work with them. They have to go under an agreement now. So when you start working with a realtor, you're not just seeing houses anymore. You have to commit to one realtor or one realty company and commit to them for like 3 months, 6 months. You just have to ask them, how long are you going to represent me? It used to be that people could go window shopping with houses, but now they're actually requiring an agreement be signed between the two parties before they start viewing houses. So it will vary realtor to realtor. So it's important to just have that as a question. And as part of counseling, when you start shopping for a realtor, because you're also interviewing realtors to see, are you familiar with the down payment assistance programs? What's your communication style like? Maybe you have a friend or a family member, right? That can also be very real. What are their fees? And are their fees convenient for you? Are they affordable for you? And what does that look like? So let's see. I just want to make sure. Okay. Great. So by this time, you would have already screenshotted this. Miss Peace, do you have a question?
Yes, please. I have a question. So, um, um, I've gotten a realtor, but is it if the seller doesn't pay them their commission, are you legally committed to pay them?
Yes. You want to definitely call and ask them, hey, what are your broker fees? And you can certainly let them know to negotiate the lesser amount on your behalf. However, they will walk you through those fees, based on their specific broker company or wherever they work, their realty company. So just talk to them because, yes, they do have to, both of you guys are responsible in some capacity, buyer and seller. And that has been enforced for the last 2 years because it's always been written that there's a seller and buyer commitment, but it was just assumed that the seller was picking it all up. Now it's being enforced because it's always been written, but it's being enforced that both parties will have a financial commitment.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, great question. Okay, so now let's look at an actual example. Right? Let's say I'm about to buy a house and the house is valued at $200,000. My upfront fees, remember the blues, I've already saved $2,000 because looking at this house and knowing that the sales price is $200,000, I'm able to calculate 1%. I take 200,000 times 1% and it gives me 2,000. So for those of you, the families that are pre-approved, if you haven't seen the property value yet, or if you haven't really identified a property, or let's just say that you already have your eye on one, look at the sales price, multiply by 1%, and you get your earnest money. On top of that, add your option fee. Then, have you found an inspector? Do you know how much it's going to cost you? There's a lot of different inspectors that do several different tests. So ask what their fee is. Do they do the wood destroying insect inspection, or do you have to pay extra? Do you have to go and hire somebody else? Are you doing a mold inspection? Is it recommended? 1,000% recommended for properties that are in a flood zone or have been impacted by a hurricane, by flooding. Right? So definitely recommended because moisture can exist within the walls. So then you have your credit report fee. When you're looking at loans, you have to have a credit report, right? So for my families that have been pre-approved, a good question to ask the bank that has approved you is, how much are you charging me for the credit report fee? Here it's listed at $75. I know there's a bank that charges $45, and I also know a different bank that charges $130. So all of that money is getting paid, right? Sometimes, like in this case, there's a bank that said, we will not pay for the appraiser at closing. You have to pay it up front. So you have to send that in to them, that money into the lender so that they can then send out the appraiser. Some other lenders will say, no, we can close, right? But it's going to be a fee that you pay at the closing table. So certainly very important that you guys understand that the blue is going to come out of your pocket. The upfront fee for the realtor fees varies, like I mentioned. And so right now, what I should have saved is a minimum of $4,125. That will put me under contract. Okay? And so all of that is already said and done. Then I tell the bank, all right, what's next? That's the down payment. So let's just say I go and apply for Harris County down payment assistance. Harris County down payment assistance will have their own requirements, right? One thing that we will share at the end of the class is their website, where you will be able to read how much they will finance for a pre-existing home and how much they're willing to finance for a new build, right? So I have to decide, is this property within that limit if I'm applying for this grant? And because my house is 200,000, I know already that Harris County has pre-existing properties and they will finance me up to 285,000. Right? So I know that that may be a great source. But I really want to emphasize the steps. Applying for a down payment assistance program that you're not sure about will just delay the process for you because you're starting backwards. So remember, you can start at any of those steps, but regardless of where you start, you're gonna have to go back and graduate from the previous steps because they have to be done, right? So let's just say that Harris County approves me, and they approve me for $7,000 because the bank says that I qualify for an FHA loan. So they're going to pay $7,000 on my behalf, right? So if I didn't qualify for down payment assistance, then I would have to pay this much out of my own funds. Fortunately, there are banks that also provide down payment assistance, guys. Banks do provide down payment assistance, and they provide closing cost assistance as well. And I'm getting a question that says, do you pay the grant back? Yes and no, right? There's no free money that comes without regulations, rules, or requirements. For example, Harris County is one of those grants that has some requirements. City of Houston has requirements. And so some of their requirements may be that I cannot sell my house for 3 years, because if I sell my house, and I automatically have to pay back what they let me have for my purchase. So it's really important that you think through all of the process, all of the steps, so that you can reduce your frustration, reduce your stress, expectations are realistic, and this can be a smooth process. All right, this is page 17. If you need a second to just screenshot this, go ahead and do that while I answer this question. Brenda, you asked an amazing question. Do you still need an inspector to come out for a new construction home? Does anybody know the answer to that? Raise your hand if you know the answer. Okay, Miss Roberta, do you want to tell us?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I think you should have someone come out still, although it's a new home, because it's stuff they may leave undone. They may take out stuff out the house. Yeah, so yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think you should still have it done.
Yep. Miss Diamonisha, what is another reason why you would want to have an inspection done? Thank you so much, Miss Roberta.
Well, she kind of took my answer. That was one of the things too. You can't really trust a lot of these people these days. They try and take the easy way out when it comes to like building. So it's always good to get a second opinion and get those things looked at.
Mm-hmm. I'm glad you said the word people, because we are all people, y'all. And I saw how many of you are W-2 employees right now. My goodness, we are people, right? So there are errors, and where there's construction, there could be something missed. So you absolutely, would give yourself the benefit of doing an inspection, because it could uncover any kind of errors during that new build. For example, is your wiring okay? Right? Like, is your house actually going to turn on where it needs to turn on? Or if I turn on the light, am I going to turn on the, what's it called, y'all? The sink thingy? The garbage disposal. Yes, the garbage disposal. Yeah. So things like that, right? Like, it could be an error. So, keep in mind that people can opt out of inspection reports. Sometimes they'll be like, well, I do this work, right? Or I know what I'm looking for. The truth, though, is that there's underlying mechanical components that aren't always visible, like, or even the roof, right? Some people only, I've seen it where instead of removing the old roof, they just plop a new one on top of the old one. And that's not always great, right? It's actually terrible because it's going to weigh down your house and then it's going to just create a problem down the line. So I hope that answers your question. It definitely is recommended to have an inspection. It is not required, which is why some people choose, that they don't need it, but it's 100% recommended because it can protect your asset. And then can tell you a realistic idea of if there are any repairs. And keep in mind, you're buying a new home, so you are paying for new everything, and it should be in working condition and should have passed, what is it called? I'm sorry, should have passed an inspection to get a certificate of occupancy. Okay. Miss Trinity says, we think inspections should definitely be done when the structure just got built. Also, to add, she's asking, do they let us know the background of the houses? That's a great question too. So the short answer is that the seller can sometimes be an investor, right? So maybe they bought the house and they renovated it just to put it back on the market. That seller doesn't have the history of the house. So yes, there is a form, and we will see that later on down the presentation. But we will see that later on in the presentation. But you should know that there is a form that you can fill out that says, like, tell us to the best of your ability what you know is wrong with the house. But we will look at that later. Awesome questions, y'all. Okay. So that means my total cost to purchase is about $17,625. So don't be surprised, right, about these costs. They're standard fees because that's the cost of buying a home, right? It all starts with the sales price. So really what we want to do is work on credit, make sure income is stable so that y'all can qualify for down payment assistance and closing cost assistance. So that really you're looking at that $4,000, $5,000 cost. So just keep an eye out for that. Yes, that $17,000 looks huge, but in reality, housing counseling is here to guide you through some of the resources that you can be eligible for. We cannot guarantee you anything. And what's that saying about leading the horse to water? Y'all know the rest. But definitely we will give you a client action plan. And so based on those resources that are available to you, we walk you through applications, we assist you with lender conversations, we connect you with realtors, and ultimately you decide which realtor and which lender you go with. But our job is always to educate. This is on page 17. Does anyone have any final questions on this chapter? I see Melvin has his hand up. You can come off of
Yeah,
it.
sorry. So I'm guessing you just want to do the upfront fees for a house that you're interested in, right?
Ideally, right? That would be the best case scenario. In the event that you cannot get all the down payment assistance that you need, then just be prepared for some of those extra expenses. So I've had, families start this process, and then they find, I'm going to need a little bit more money. So then, having friends and family to help. I've had a lot of people tell me, hey, my dad let me borrow money, or my friend let me borrow money. But it's understanding that, like what I said earlier about reducing your debts and increasing savings, it's like a tug of war when you start doing that, right? Because now you're borrowing money from family and friends for this transaction on top of your new mortgage now. Make sense?
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, sure. Okay, great. So we've finished chapter 1, y'all.